The most dangerous weapon in the Red Sea isn't the one that explodes, it's the one that returns. Right now, a crude drone worth $20,000 is forcing an American destroyer to fire a $2 million missile. The threat vaporizes. 20 minutes later, another drone appears. Then another. The crew isn't being attacked to sink the ship. They're being bled dry, forced to empty their magazines one interceptor at a time, until there's nothing left, and the destroyer has no choice but to retreat. For years, this brutal math gave adversaries total control. So how did the United States Navy finally break free from a weapon designed to drain them into defeat? A maritime suicide drone swarm is something else entirely. It's a cloud of crude explosive aircraft. Not fast, not stealthy. Their guidance is often simple. Their power comes from brutal numerical logic. A modern destroyer's sensors can see them coming from miles away. But seeing the threat is not the problem. The problem is stopping them all at once. A warship's defenses are like a series of gates. Strong, but they can only open and close so fast. The Aegis combat system is engineered to handle complex salvos from peer adversaries. But when 30 slow, low-flying drones arrive at the same time, from the same quadrant, something breaks down. The gates get overwhelmed. This is saturation. Overwhelm the gates, slip one through. That's all it takes. And here is what commanders fear most. If even one drone slips through, it can cripple a ship. This exact scenario played out in November of 2023, when Houthi forces attacked over 178 vessels in the Red Sea. The threat persists precisely because it is cheap and replaceable. An adversary can launch these drones day after day, week after week, from hidden coastline launchers. The psychological wear is immense. The real damage isn't the explosion, it's the slow drain. Focus, energy, missiles, all of it bleeding away. If you're proud of American engineering like this, write proud in the comments. So how did this crude weapon become the ultimate test of a Navy's endurance? The swarm strategy exploits one devastating asymmetry: cost. For a Navy destroyer, the primary defense is the Standard Missile family, hyper-advanced interceptors that can hit targets in space. Firing one to swat down a slow-moving drone is like using a gold-plated sledgehammer to kill a fly. Run the math. Each Standard Missile, SM-2, interceptor costs around $2 million. Each Standard Missile 6, or SM-6, costs nearly $5 million. The drone it destroys might cost $20,000. That's less than a Honda Civic. In some cases, the Navy spends over $200 in defense for every $1 an attacker spends on offense. But here is what makes this nightmare worse. Every missile fired is gone forever, launched from one of a fixed number of silos built into the ship's spine. An Arleigh Burke-class destroyer has 96 launch cells. They cannot be reloaded at sea without a complex, specialized operation. During intense patrols, ships like the USS Carney fired over 40 of these missiles in just months of Red Sea operations. Nearly half of their entire magazine was emptied. Now imagine the commander's dilemma. Every radar contact forces a terrible choice. Do they defend a nearby commercial vessel and burn a precious, irreplaceable missile? The fear is not of instantaneous destruction. It is something more insidious. The creeping fear of attritional defeat, of becoming a floating fortress with empty guns, forced to turn and run, leaving the mission behind. When a ship ran low on missiles, it had to abandon its post and steam to port for a weeks-long reload. The Navy's answer was the TRAM system, Tactical Reload at Sea. Imagine two massive ships sailing side by side in the open ocean. A heavy crane stretches between them, transferring multi-ton missiles from a supply ship directly into the destroyer's empty cells. It is a high-stakes ballet, performed in heavy seas. This was a logistical revolution. In October of 2024, the Navy successfully demonstrated TRAM for the first time at sea. A ship could defend a convoy, reload on station, and remain on the front line without a week-long gap. The dreaded Winchester call, the signal for being out of ammunition, no longer meant automatic retreat. The Navy had bought itself time. But here is the problem Pentagon strategists couldn't ignore. TRAM solved presence, not price. All they had done was create a more efficient way to keep spending millions to stop thousands, reloading gold bricks to throw at soda cans. The economic advantage still belonged entirely to the attacker. This stark reality forced a more radical question. What if the solution wasn't a better way to supply missiles, but a way to stop using missiles altogether? That question led to a fundamental shift, a move from ammunition-based warfare to energy-based warfare. The new tools are not faster missiles, they are weapons that fight with electricity. The first is the directed energy laser, like the HELIOS system. When a drone appears, the system locks on. The laser fires, holding its energy on a single spot. Within seconds, that spot heats to thousands of degrees. The drone's plastic skin melts, its electronics fuse. It falls from the sky, dead. Here's the number that changes everything. The cost of that engagement is roughly $80, the price of the diesel fuel used to generate the electricity. The cost curve has not just been bent, it has been shattered. But a laser is a precision tool. It defeats targets one by one. And here is where the real breakthrough comes in. To counter a true, simultaneous swarm of dozens of drones, the Navy turned to something more powerful. High-power microwaves, like those in Project Meteor. It emits a wide cone of electromagnetic energy. When that pulse washes over a swarm, it doesn't burn the drones. It fries the circuitry inside every single one of them. Guidance systems, motors, radios, everything shuts down instantly. Dozens of threats drop from the sky for the cost of running the ship's power plants. The tactical equation has been completely inverted. Is the United States Navy still afraid of suicide drone swarms? A professional Navy will always respect a weapon that can kill its sailors. That never changes. But here is what has changed. The strategic fear, the kind that dictates operations, forces conservatism, and hands initiative to the enemy, has been systematically dismantled. The old fear was rooted in scarcity, empty magazines, economic bankruptcy. The new posture is built on abundance, the abundance of electrical power. When your defense costs pennies per shot and draws from the ship's nearly bottomless fuel tanks, the attacker loses all economic leverage. And this is the critical shift. The swarm is no longer a weapon of attrition. It is just a list of targets. These systems aren't fully deployed yet. Helios is on one ship, the USS Bled, for testing. Meteor hasn't touched seawater. The Navy is still burning expensive missiles in the Red Sea right now, but the proof of concept is there. The timeline is measured in months, not decades. By 2027, the Navy plans to install directed energy systems on newly constructed destroyers. Deterrence is stronger because adversaries know their cost-imposing strategy is obsolete. Ship design now prioritizes massive electrical generation to feed these systems. Commanders are freed from the brutal calculus of rationing. They can engage with confidence, knowing their defense is sustainable. The goal shifts from surviving the next attack to outlasting the enemy's entire will to attack. The psychological advantage has permanently, decisively flipped. The Navy has stopped playing the attacker's game. It has replaced finite, costly missiles with unlimited, cheap energy. The equation is flipped. Naval defense is no longer about having a deeper magazine. It is about having a stronger power grid. The swarm remains dangerous, but it is no longer a strategic weapon. It has been reduced from a paralyzing threat to a manageable nuisance, one that drains the attacker faster than it drains the defender. The advantage now belongs to the defender, indefinitely.